Excuse me.
Thank you. That is kind.
You're a soldier?
Long ago.
Do you mind? I'm Sam.
Please. Tell me, Sam, do you know the story of our slain king and his beautiful daughter, the Princess Isa?
I don't.
Well, you remind me of her.
Tell me what's going on.
I'm here to finish your training.
A little late for that.
One is never too old to learn, Snips.
All right. What's the lesson, Master?
Live. Or die.
I fear we lost some measure of our honor since that betrayal. I'm afraid our compassion, our kindness, our very joy died with that young girl.
I believe so, you. I won't fight you.
I've heard that before.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Space-Tastic Discussions. And today is a very special episode of Space-Tastic Discussions because this will be our special Star Wars Day celebration. Yesterday was May the 4th, and today is Revenge of the 5th. So, happy Star Wars Day. So we have a lot of great topics to talk about today. We have George Lucas, the Acolyte, and the end of Bad Batch. So please welcome as I bring on my guest for today's episode. He's the co-host of Marvelous Discussions and also is a big Star Wars fan, even though for some reason he keeps siding with Obi-Wan. Don't quite get that one. But please welcome as I bring on Sox Bulletins. How are you, man?
Hey, Batman. Hi, all. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. Glad to have you on for another Star Wars discussion. So, at the end of today's episode, we're actually going to talk about what Star Wars means to us in honor of this special day, or I guess technically it was yesterday, but today's another day. They have a lot of Star Wars days in May, don't they?
Yeah.
And then, what up, Zod Rider? I hope you enjoyed your Star Wars day yesterday. I know you were on the Bat Channel yesterday on Delta Squad. Yep, those are great streams by the Bat Channel, by the way. I was in the chat watching along for both of them, and yeah, Tales of the Jedi was, or not Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Empire was, it was a bit of a stinker, honestly. Like, Tales of the Jedi, phenomenal. Love it. Tales of the Empire, Zod, okay, right, I forgot. This is Bully Zod Rider now, because this poor guy on the Bat Channel kept bullying Jake Lloyd. Bully Zod Rider. So, before we get started with our Star Wars discussion, I just want to kind of say a quick shout out. Happy birthday, Henry Cavill, and according to our good late friend Mikey Sutton, he will be our future Han Solo type character in Rebel Moons, and obviously our Superman as well. So, just wanted to give a quick shout out to Henry Cavill today. What about you, Sox?
Yeah, the more we can see of Henry Cavill when he comes back, the better, because he's a good actor. I just feel bad that he got screwed over by Warner Brothers, not once, but twice. You know, it's not right, but he'll bounce back. And if he never goes back to Warner Brothers ever again, I wouldn't blame him.
Oh, neither would I. Besides, the beauty of the Cell campaign, he wouldn't need to go back to Warner Brothers. And besides, Netflix needs to make it up to Henry Cavill too because of The Witcher. Because the reason why he left is because the writers, he didn't like the way the story direction was going, so he left. And Netflix needs to make up to him. So what better way than go on?
Well, if you also believe the rumor of the MCU, he might actually go there too to do a project or two. You know, we don't know yet, but if he does,
I'm kind of tuning out MCU casting rumors at this point because I hear so many, and Henry Cavill casting rumors too. I hear so many. I'm like, I mean, it would be cool, definitely. I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool, but
sure,
we definitely need to see it happen. But yeah, especially as
we can look forward to his Highlander movie.
Yep. Looking forward to that one. And I still need to see Ungentlemanly Warfare. I haven't seen that one yet.
Neither have I.
I've heard it's good, though. I think I've heard. So, anyway, though, just want to give a quick shout out to Henry Cavill because it is his birthday today. So, and hopefully this Rebel Moon scoop comes true. I have a feeling it will. Mikey, it was given to us. Man, God, I can't even talk. It was given to us by Mikey Sutton, so I believe this story, and yep, it will be. Now, I'm not really a big Highlander guy, but for Henry Cavill, I will support that franchise. So, anyway, I don't want to get too off topic now, so let's get on to our Star Wars Day special. What up, a Curly Ray? So, Socks. So, now granted, I do want to emphasize, this is a rumor, people. George Lucas returning is a rumor that, personally, I do not believe. What about you, Socks?
I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping he is coming back because I'm putting certain pieces together. Again, this is all speculation. It's all theory. So that's where I got to leave it at. That's all I'm asking you all to just try to understand the way I'm looking at these things. Let's go back about a little over a month ago. There was a proxy war going on at Disney between Bob Iger and Nelson Peltz. Nelson Peltz is on the board of directors, along with some other people. He was trying to get another seat on the board of directors, and he was bankrolling or getting people to bankroll him to get more positions of power. I don't understand all the behind the scenes stuff. I know some of it from what I could piece together. Iger had the backing of the banks and George Lucas. Now, for years, Lucas said he didn't like what the sequels were. We all agree with him on that. The sequels were trash. But all of a sudden, Lucas came out and said he supports Iger. Iger is playing chess. Now, Iger made a lot of mistakes in his career. I understand that. I can't defend Disney on every little thing. I understand that too. But he came out and defended Iger. He wanted Iger to keep the top spot, the top seat, other than Peltz. Peltz is not a good guy. He's not a good guy. His friend is Iperimeter. He's even worse. For Iger and Lucas to admit that they are actually together, something had to be done behind the scenes that we don't know about. Something had to be given, said, promised, whatever you want to call it. Hollywood is a shady place. We all know this. I think why Lucas came out to support Iger publicly, Iger promised Lucas something for later on. I'm not saying that he's coming back for sure, but all of a sudden he pops up saying, hey, I defend Luke, I defend Iger, and I defend Disney, and let's do this together. That's a red flag for me. That tells me something's going on behind the scenes. So, hypothetically speaking, of course, if Lucas does come back and does something for Star Wars, and he has full creative control over that, plus Kathleen Kennedy's contract is up this year. She's gone by October. I'm going to tell you, man, I'm liking what I'm hearing.
I think for me, again, this is my thing with, again, Disney Star Wars. I don't love everything they've done. I don't hate everything they've done. And I'm then very objective with it. You know, the sequel, I even go this far.
Sure.
I'll just say episodes 8 and 9. I don't even have issues with Force Awakens, but episodes 8 and 9 were trash. There's no denying that. And the reason why I say the whole sequel trilogy has to be non-canon is because if 8 and 9 are non-canon, then Force Awakens has to be too. But, you know, and Mandalorian Season 3, Book of Boba Fett were not great. But then you have some great stuff like Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2, the last season of Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, Tales of the Jedi. Not Tales of the Empire. That will be a later discussion on this show. And I'm going to kind of give away our discussion a little bit, but Bad Batch. I think there's been a lot of winners with it. So, but I think part of the problem, though, is that the main storyline, the movies, is already sabotaged. So, to me, if this rumor, and again, I don't know if I really believe this completely, although, didn't George Lucas buy a lot of stock in Disney, though?
He has a lot of stock. Now, before I forget about this, we got to remember something. Lucas is in his mid-70s, if not late 70s. I don't know which one it is, but I know it's in his 70s.
Yes,
I don't see him directing anything. I see him more along the lines of writing something. If he does direct, it'd probably be one thing. Maybe it's a TV series. I can understand that.
But Stocks, I'll even add this to you. He didn't even direct the original trilogy, except for A New Hope.
That's true. You're right. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that's actually. I think to me though, what I'm going to say is that if George Lucas does come back, to me, it should be an alternate version of the sequel trilogy. To me, that's the only thing that I think would really work, because something that doesn't have to follow all of the Disney canon. Because again, I like a lot of the Disney canon, but the problem is it's that sequel trilogy. That's too much of a. I don't know what you call it exactly. Just too much of a. Just kind of ruin everything. But yeah, just retcon the sequel trilogy. You can leave the Mandalorian continuity intact. You can leave the Book of Boba Fett continuity intact. Nothing. I'll put it like this: Book of Boba Fett, as many issues as I have with it, nothing in it that really ruins the canon for me. Same with Tales of the Empire. I'll even say Tales of the Empire. My issues with it don't ruin the canon, whereas the sequel trilogy, my issues with it ruin the canon. So, but I mean, and this is the issue I have, Socks, is that a lot of these people who are hating on Disney Star Wars, though, they're the reason why Disney owns Star Wars in the first place. Because George Lucas got so bullied, he got so ridiculed, that's why he sold Disney to Star Wars, or Star Wars to Disney.
There was a famous incident that happened way back in the early 2000s. I don't remember if it was after Attack of the Clones or after Revenge of the Sith. I'm sorry if I don't remember. There's a very famous female news reporter. I think her name was Connie Chung at the time. She's married to Maury Povich. she was working for CBS or one of the news outlets, and she had the audacity to constantly keep, insulting the prequels, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And she has a right to her opinion. I'm not saying that she doesn't, but she went to Skywalker Ranch. Lucas had her taken off the property because he felt that,
wow.
hey, you can have your opinion, it's fine, but you're not gonna fucking come here and be offensive about it. So he kicked her off the property, and
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't blame Lucas. But like you said, I see a lot of similarities with George Lucas with Zack Snyder. I've been saying that for years. I've been seeing it. And it bothers me because it's like, you're doing to him what you already did to this guy. And the funny thing about Hollywood, it really bothers me all, and I've been saying this for the longest time. Hollywood always says, we always want to take chances on new IPs. Okay. Star Wars was a new IP back in the 70s. Everyone came down about it. Then you got 40 some odd years later, 45 years, some years later, you got Zack Snyder wanted to do his IPs, and yet everybody wants to attack Rebel Moon. So either you want a new IP or you want somebody to rehash something that they've already done. Which one is it? Because you're saying you're afraid of new IPs, but then you're saying you want new IPs. You can't have both. You got to choose one.
Oh, okay, you're done. I was propping you up because I really liked what you were saying, but yeah, exactly. Sure. And the thing with Zack Snyder and George Lucas, though, is that unfortunately they're popular directors to hate. That's a big part of it, too. And I think part of them don't... I mean, I don't want to get too far into this conversation. I'm just going to say both of those directors are not part of that Hollyweird circle. That's all I'm going to say with that.
Well,
so I think...
Lucas never wanted to be a... He didn't understand studios. He didn't want to be a part of the studio way of doing things. He became a studio later on because of the success of Star Wars. That is true, but he doesn't understand. He doesn't like the studio mentality, which I understand. That people don't understand this. When he wrote Star Wars, he took it to every studio that he could take it to at the time. There's a lot more studios back in the 70s than there are now. Every studio turned him down. They didn't understand it, except for Alan Ladd Jr., which was in control of Fox. And he even said it to him, I don't understand this. I don't know what this is. I don't understand this. I loved American Graffiti. I'm willing to give you a chance. He gave him a chance. And when he was making this movie in 1976 in Europe, every single person that was on that set, that was in a union, that was working behind the scenes, hated it. They all laughed at it. They were like, what is this, a bunch of Muppets and light swords? And what is all this weird crap? They gave this guy a heart attack. He had an anxiety issue.
Oh, damn.
Where he had so much stress put on him. He shot all the special effects. People don't understand. Another thing people don't get is that when he was working on Star Wars, that all the special effects companies were gone. Hollywood got rid of them all because they weren't making any money. He had to bring back special effects for this project, and he had to reshoot everything because he didn't like how things turned out. So he did all of this. Plus, he had the stress of 20th Century Fox saying, "Where's this movie? Where's this movie?" He's like, another thing is, if he was in the middle of a shot, you had to be done by a certain time per day. He could ask the crew if he can go 15 minutes over, but they would all have to vote for it. Every day, they would vote against him. So he took on all this pressure for months. And when he put the movie out, it became a huge hit. Because it was ready. People wanted to see something. It was post-Vietnam. There was nothing in the theater like Star Wars. It was a whole other level. Just like Rebel Moon. It was a whole other level. When you take an idea and you bring it to life and nobody can understand your vision, you put the vision out there so everyone can see it. Then they'll sit back and go, whoa, this guy was right. But it takes somebody like a Lucas or a Snyder to show you that vision. But there's always going to be somebody out there. I hate this. I don't understand this. Why is this here? Why is that there? Did you watch the movie? Well, I have a right to criticize. Yeah, you have a right to criticize, but did you watch the movie? Well, no, I did not. Well, then you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, then you don't have the right to criticize. It's why, like, for example, the Suicide Squad game that came out, I'm very limited in my criticism of it because I have not played the game. I said that there are certain clips I've seen that I don't like. I've said that, but I'm not going to criticize the game as a whole because I didn't play it. I can't say that's a bad game. And that's what... And it's like... And with the prequel trilogy, it's like people just wanted to hate the prequels. People were just trying so hard to hate the prequels. They're hating on George Lucas. And it's so funny, Sox. A lot of these people, they were celebrating when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, and now they're begging for George Lucas to be in control again. It's like, you guys should have appreciated George Lucas when you had the chance because he had vision. He had a clear story he wanted to tell, and he told it. And Sox, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't George Lucas put more of his funding into Star Wars so that he would have more control over it? Because he wanted... Sure. Because I think that's how he was able to do stuff like go back and re-release the film with special edits. Because when you work on a film with the studio, you can't always just go back and change it and re-release it just because you feel like it, because the studio owns the movie. But that's why George Lucas put a lot of his own funding into it because it gave him more control. So that's why the original trilogy, like or hate the changes, he was able to do that because he put his own funding into it, and. Do I agree with George Lucas on every change he made in the original trilogy? No, but I actually agree with him on some of the changes he made too. But at least he was able to tell the story he wanted to tell. And I have a hot take for you, Sox. Even the Hayden Christensen ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi, I have no issues with it being done, but I do have an issue with how he did it. Because all he did for that change is that's actually Sebastian Shaw with Hayden Christensen's head on it. They just slimmed down the shoulders a little bit, but it looks so awkward.
He got so much heat for redoing the special editions. Now, I'm old enough to know this. I went to the theater in 1983 and saw Return of the Jedi in the theater. My parents took me. My dad told me he took me to see Star Wars in 1980. I don't remember that one. I was too little. So I knew it had to be Empire Strikes Back. I don't remember. I wish I could remember, but I don't remember that. But I do remember going to see Return of the Jedi. It was raining that day. The first theater we went to, it was sold out. He said, don't worry. I know another theater. We'll go to that one. And I did see Return of the Jedi. Years later down the line, when they remastered everything, I saw the remastered special editions. I actually loved the special editions more than the originals because Lucas came out and said, I couldn't put everything into the original trilogy because the technology wasn't there. So I understood that. I love the special editions over the originals. And I love the part where Vader, I'm going to say it, a lot of people don't like it, but I did. Return of the Jedi, when the Emperor's killing Luke and Vader's there. He's looking at it and he says no. He picks him up, throws him over the shaft. That no was not in the original trilogy. He got so much hate for doing that. Just for that saying no business. I didn't have a problem with it.
And that's a really new change. That's a 2011 change, Sox. That's not even in the 2004 special editions. That's the Blu-ray 2011 special edition.
Right. And I loved it. And like another thing, here's a hot take for you. A lot of people don't understand this. I don't have a problem with Jar Jar Binks. And I'll explain why. Jar Jar Binks, people, has an ability with the Force. Now, people don't understand it. What do you mean, Sock? His ability with the Force is clumsiness. If you look at the first movie, Phantom Menace, when the droids that droid army is going to attack the Gungans, every single time every single time Jar Jar does something goofy with a weapon, it always hurts the droid army. It doesn't hurt the Gungans. He has an ability with the Force. That's a real thing.
I still think he's a Sith.
And I know a lot of people are like, I can understand that, but it still has an ability with the Force. A lot of people got mad at Jake Lloyd. Well, why the hell is Anakin Skywalker talking like that? He's a 10-year-old kid What do you expect him to talk like? A 55-year-old man? He's a kid. Kids talk like that.
Apparently, though, Zodwriter saw a cut of, well, not like a whole cut, but footage of an audition of an actor. I forgot, Devin, what's the last name? Zodwriter, what was his last name in the chat? If you're there, clarify. Devin something. But apparently he was better than Jake Lloyd, but the problem was, and this was said on the Bat Channel, is that George Lucas wanted Jake Lloyd because he was more innocent, whereas Devin had too much Vader in him. But George Lucas wanted that contrast, which makes sense. And I'm going to say this to you, Sox. That sand line in episode 2, that is the most over-exaggerated hate for that line I've ever seen since Martha. It's like the way they talk about that sand line, I thought it was a whole conversation about sand. It was a while since I saw Attack of the Clones, and then I'm watching this again, I'm like, wait, it's one freaking line? I would have forgotten about it if it wasn't so, like, but people were trying their very hardest to hate George Lucas. And the reality is, Sox, if George Lucas were to come back, they would hate him. They would still find some way to hate him because no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
You know, the funny thing is, I remember when Part 3 came out, and I was in one of these Yahoo groups, when Yahoo had chat groups online. And it was a comic book group I was in. And one guy actually said, well, Revenge of the Sith was okay, but I wouldn't have shown the exoskeleton of the Death Star into the film. What? Really? Yeah, thank you. You know how somebody can say something so stupid that you remember it decades later and it can't get out of your head no matter how bad you want to get out of your head? He actually said, I wouldn't have shown the exoskeleton of the Death Star in the Revenge of the Sith. They were setting up for the original trilogy, you idiot. Didn't you not understand that?
Okay, Devin Michael. Yeah, my God. It's like, do you need everything? And I'm going to say this, Sox. My favorite Star Wars film is actually Revenge of the Sith. It's not even an original trilogy film. Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of the 6 Skywalker saga. And when I say 6, I mean 6. 6 and only 6 Skywalker saga films. Because as much as I like Force Awakens, if I have to disregard Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, I have to disregard Force Awakens. Unfortunately, it's a package deal. So, 6 Star Wars films.
I agree.
But in terms of this rumor, at the end of the day, I don't know if I completely believe it. I think there is some validity to it because George Lucas owns some Disney stock. But I think at the end of the day, if he is going to return, I think it has to be for some sort of Star Wars Elseworld What If project. Or something where the sequel trilogy is not canon.
It just kills me that, ever since, that whole rumor came out, what was about a week or two, the so-called, the real haters on YouTube, and you know who they are. I know who they are. They started running their mouths. Well, Lucas can't save Star Wars. Nothing can save Star Wars. Star Wars is dead. No, your mouth is dead because you don't shut the hell up. Because you have an audience and you take things out of context. Drives me up a wall.
Yeah.
They said.
I mean, here's the thing. Not everything Disney's done has been something I liked. Here's the thing. You can be critical of Star Wars. I'm not saying that. My issue is when people are trying their very hardest to hate on everything Star Wars does. When I see good episodes of Mandalorian being hated on just because I'm Phantom Menace, I have to hate it. Well, you should appreciate George Lucas when you had the chance. And if you did like George Lucas, you should have been more vocal about it. It's the exact same thing with Snyder because when George Lucas and Snyder left, Star Wars and DC.
Yeah, it's a fact. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the biggest Zack Snyder fan of all time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I like his stuff. I've had my opinions on certain things, but it don't mean I hate Zack. I don't hate Snyderverse. I'm not gonna ridicule it. But even I know that there's a certain fan base out there that's slaying that poor dude over stupidity that they don't understand. I actually heard a YouTuber the other day say, I don't understand the wheat that he was showing in Rebel Moon Part 2. Like, did you not watch the movie? the wheat.
Yeah.
They're talking about the wheat. They're talking about the wheat, man.
I got it the first time I watched it. I didn't need an
Jesus
explanation.
Christ.
I didn't need that. I mean,
I gotta do.
it's like we need like essays to explain stuff, like the whole sand line. It's like Hayden was playing an awkward teenager who says an awkward thing to the girl he has a crush on. That's normal behavior for a teenage boy to say something stupid. I mean, heck, I'm 29, almost 30. Even I will say awkward things on occasion around. I'm not going to get too far into that in my personal life, but you know what I mean. Like, even I do that sometimes. Like, point is, at the end of the day, we could go on this rant forever, but we got a lot of other stuff we need to cover on this episode. But I think at the end of the day, George Lucas has got way too hated on. I hope there's some validity to this rumor. I don't believe or disbelieve it. I think that it's possible it could be true, but only time will tell. And I think, again, if it happens, it is because George Lucas is using his stockholder influence. I don't know how all that stuff works, but I do know if you own enough shares, you can have some pull. What about you, Sox? Anything you want to say to wrap up this topic?
There's one thing I want to say, and I got to say it again. I said it a while back, but I'll say it again. When I hear people say, well, Rebel Moon is a ripoff of Star Wars. No, it's not. No, it's not. There is a difference between inspiration and ripoff. And that's a fact. I don't think for a minute Rebel Moon ever ripped off Star Wars. I do think, though, on the other hand, Battle Beyond the Stars, which came out in the early 80s, is a ripoff of Star Wars itself. I seen that movie. It's garbage. It came out in the early 80s. Everyone said, well, that's a great movie. That's what, Rebel Moon is. It ripped off Star Wars. It ripped off Battle Beyond the Stars. Like, trust me, Battle Beyond the Stars is not a good movie. I've seen that movie. It's garbage. And if Rebel Moon did not rip off Star Wars. Battle Beyond the Stars ripped off Star Wars, not Rebel Moon.
I'll just say, and to follow that, to end this on, if Rebel Moon ripped off Star Wars, then Star Wars ripped off Dune. So
right, there's a difference between inspiration and ripoff. I can automatically tell that by just looking at it. Star Wars did not rip off anything. Rebel Moon did not rip off anything. Battle Beyond the Stars ripped off Star Wars, and Rebel Moon did not rip off Battle Beyond the Stars. And when people say that bullshit to me, I want to tell them, make your own movie. Save up your money. Go make a movie. You can do it. And let us criticize your garbage. Treat you like how you treated Lucas and Zack Snyder.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, a movie can have more than one inspiration. So, but yeah, I think we'll end this. I'm just going to end this on here because we got a lot we need to cover. Disney.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. George Lucas, we hope the best for you. Because now the Acolyte, a new Acolyte trailer came out yesterday and I will say this, Sox, I liked it a lot better than the first one. I feel like we got more of what the plot is than this one. Is that it looks interesting. Is like we're seeing a Jedi, we're seeing the olden days of the Republic and a Jedi's murdered and they're investigating it. I mean, I'm intrigued by this one. I'm more intrigued by this one than I was the last trailer. What about you?
I am, but I'm very skeptical of this series. And I'm not saying I hate it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to go in with an open mind. I'm going to do that. That's how I am. I'm not going to sit here and say I hate it automatically just by hating it. I'm not going to do that. I give Star Wars a chance. I give MCU a chance. I'm going to do that. Reason why I'm a little skeptical about this is because this was a Kathleen Kennedy funded project. We all know how I feel about Kathleen Kennedy. She's not exactly a good person, but she's done the Star Wars. And hopefully, and I'm being optimistic here like I like to be, I hope it's good. I don't expect Andor level good, but I hope it's, something I could enjoy. I really do. I really want this to be pretty good because Kathleen Kennedy makes me nervous. She ruined the sequels with J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson. But, so I'm a little nervous about this. I gotta agree with just Zod, Zod, you may not be wrong, buddy. You might actually be right, but I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna be optimistic. We'll see what happens, because I know at least we all know KK's contract is up this year. She's out the door in October. We get rid of her. We get Dave Filoni in the spot with Jon Favreau. Take this into a better position than what it already is. So I'm praying and I'm hoping Acolyte is good. Maybe I'm being naive, but I gotta hope that there's gotta be something there that I can look at.
Put a chick in it and make her gay. You understand the reference if you've seen that South Park special.
I did.
South Park was not afraid to call out Kathleen Kennedy, and that was. But I want to make it clear.
They're right.
Me with this series, with the trailer though, I'm not saying that the trailer looked amazing and that I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is that it's better than the last one, and it's enough that I'm willing to give the show a chance. But I'm not watching this trailer and I'm like, oh, this is absolutely amazing. Because we say, they have to take chances. But with that being said, it's going to take a lot more to impress me, because the thing is, it doesn't have any characters from the previous Star Wars media. None whatsoever. So they're going to have to try a lot harder to get us to be invested in this.
Well, I'll say this, and when Mikey was alive, Mikey had told us all that KK was basically already out the door. I mean, she was still there because of contracts. We all understood that, but she was basically. Iger said, "There's the door. You didn't do well with the last Indiana Jones movie, so we're putting you over here. See you later. We'll keep you on payroll until your contract's up, but you basically had no say in the matter. You're here name only." I'm glad when she's gone. I really will be, because I can't stand KK. The KK to Star Wars is what James Gunn is to DC. So I get your pain on that one, buddy. So.
At least with Star Wars, you can watch episodes 1 through 6 and just pretend that nothing else happened. With DC, I can't really watch Man of Steel through Zack Snyder's Justice League and have it end there. But, yeah, and producer credit doesn't always mean anything. Zack Snyder had producer credit on the Suicide Squad. So,
sure.
We'll...
It's a name only. It's a payday. It's just a payday for some of these people.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like DC, I think part of it was Zack Snyder was just a way to get him out of the contract, was just to give him some meaningless producer credits. And I understand your point is that Zodra's point is that, I mean, Disney, the thing is, especially after Tales of the Empire, Disney has a lot to prove right now. I mean, and it's sad because we're going to be talking, the main topic is Bad Batch, and let's just say I have a lot of good things to say when we get to Bad Batch, which will be very, very soon, but Tales of the Empire fell flat. Yeah. I'm just going to... That series fell flat to me. And I'm going to have a full review on this show at some point. But... Wait, it does actually mean something? Okay, well, I trust Sin Havoc, because Sin Havoc... Well, wait. If you are who I think you are, how would you know about Lucasfilm, though?
What? When the day comes in October, whenever her contract ends, we'll all be dancing, because we'll be a little bit happy, because I know I will be, because she needs to go. She has been a bane to Star Wars fans for a long time, including Indiana Jones fans, on some level or another, MCU fans, to the franchises. I mean, this woman is just...
Well, does she have any pull over the MCU, though? Because that's a totally separate division.
She did. Well, all right. Here's an example for you. Last year, way back last year, Kevin Feige wanted at the time. I think it was D23. I want to say it was D23. Kevin Feige wanted to bring Harrison Ford out to introduce him as the new Thunderbolt Ross because the previous actor had passed away, and they signed Harrison Ford to be the new Thunderbolt Ross for the upcoming Captain America 4 movie. Now mind you, Feige brought in billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to Disney, right? Kathleen Kennedy got word of that. She stopped that. She stopped Feige from bringing in Harrison Ford because she wanted to bring Harrison Ford in for Indiana Jones to show off that Indiana Jones from Dial of Destiny at the time. So she was able to stop her, Feige from doing what he wanted to do. That's how of a threat she is, how much power she had over Feige. And I'm like, how the hell is that possible? But she got away with it.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that's a good point right there. So maybe she does need to go. Maybe she. Obviously she needs to go, but maybe for more than just Lucasfilm. So, all right then. So, but, it's amazing what Sin Havoc knows. It really is what he. Again, because I have my own theory about who this guy is. That's all I'm gonna say, but
I'm sure
don't know how. But I don't know. But in terms of this Acolyte series, here's the thing. There's not really enough for this trailer for me to really talk about that I'm like, oh, wow, this was amazing. Characters, okay, they're cool. But at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot to impress me. And right now, it's an improvement from the last trailer, but I'm intrigued, but I'm not wowed. And I should be wowed from the trailer, and I'm not. And yeah, unfortunately, she does, even though she made the disastrous sequel films. But here's the thing, though. As much as I say that, guess what, Sox? They made money. The sequels made money. So that's all that really matters at the end of the day. A movie could be Batman and Robin quality, but if it makes money...
That's what saved her. That is exactly what saved her.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
I'm gonna refresh them.
But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this Acolyte trailer or this Acolyte show. Because again, so far one bad trailer and one kind of, a little more intrigued, but still not phenomenal trailer. So, the fact is, Sox. The fact that we were talking more about Kathleen Kennedy than this trailer on the trailer topic, that kind of shows where this trailer really stood. Because if the trailer itself was really wow, we would not have gotten so off topic. So I think in a way that showed us where we kind of stand on the trailer. So anyway, now on to the Bad Batch review. So this is a spoiler warning for season 3 of Bad Batch. Yep, exactly. Well, okay, yeah, that's a good point though too. Yeah, that's a fair point. But anyway, Bad Batch Season 3 spoilers coming right now. So if you've not seen the Bad Batch, leave right now unless you do not care about spoilers. So this is your final warning. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bad Batch ends with them all residing on Pabu, with a flash forward of Omega joining the Rebel Alliance. So you've been spoiled, so if you're still here right now, too late. So now let's get right into this now. So we ended our last Bad Batch discussion wondering who Fennec Shan was contacting. Well, it's revealed right here. She was contacting Asajj Ventress. And Sox, what do you think about Asajj Ventress's return from Clone Wars into Bad Batch? Oh, sorry, Socks. I guess I offended you, but okay. I'll give my thoughts real quick while I wait for my guests to return for this discussion. I will say this: I wasn't really surprised that Asajj Ventress was kind of not completely bad in this show. I didn't expect her to really be bad or betray the Bad Batch. I know a lot of people were predicting that, but I didn't really, because at the end of Clone Wars, she was helping Anakin save Ahsoka. She wasn't really allied with the Separatists. She has no reason to really ally herself with the Empire. So, to me, it wouldn't really make sense for her to betray them just for the sake of it. I mean, maybe they were worth money to her. I guess that would be the incentive, is money. But I don't know. After watching her at the end of Clone Wars, I just didn't get the vibe that she would betray the Bad Batch and sell out Omega. What about you, Socks? You back now?
Yeah, I've been back for a little bit longer, but it's like not at all. It's like that one episode, and that was pretty much it, And then she didn't come back at the last episode, or for whatever reason. They just they brought her in and see you later. That was it.
Yeah, but I was fine with that though, because to be honest, it's not like there was really a lot. There was a lot going on in those finales, in those final few episodes, and to me, it just would have been more. It would just been too crowded. I think there were other characters that we didn't see that I would have liked to see, and we'll talk about that later on. But Asajj Ventress, I think she did exactly what she needed to do in Bad Batch. She was there to help guide Omega in the Force, explain what the M count was, which, I mean, let's be honest, we said, was that really a secret to any of the viewers what M count meant? But anyways, she was there to explain to them what the M count meant, and then, she served her purpose. At the end of the day, she served her purpose, because to me, there was nothing else that really could have been. Oh, that's what I did. I guess, sorry, Socks. I guess I'm the one who knocked you out with my one punch. So I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? Yeah, we all do.
You realize. No, not really, no.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. There should be. I was happy that Asajj Ventress returned. We may have not seen a lot of her, but she served her purpose. Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Linda. I completely forgot.
I had to mute that.
But I will say this too. I was really glad that she wasn't beaten up by the Bad Batch, because I was worried that the Bad Batch are going to beat her for the plot. I'm like, no, I mean, they're clones. She's not quite a Sith Lord, but she's a Dark Force user. She can take on 3 clones, even the Bad Batch. So I was really glad that she was still able to whoop the Bad Batch, because that would have been disingenuous for her character if the Bad Batch were able to beat her. But I don't know. Asajj Ventress doesn't really strike me as evil, especially towards the end of Clone Wars. So, and in here, I felt the same way, is that she was legitimately trying to help Omega, and she was able to connect with that creature. And I don't know, that's just not something I feel like you can really do with the dark side of the Force, is connect with nature like that.
I'll have to quote somebody, but only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Calling me a Sith sucks? But isn't that an absolute, though? That never really made sense to me. But isn't that an absolute itself? So...
You're the one that hates Obi-Wan Kenobi, not me.
I mean, Obi-Wan gave up on Anakin. I'm just saying. Obi-Wan gave up on Anakin. Obi-Wan's like, I could try to save my brother and turn him back to the good side, nah, too much work. I'll just kill him instead. That's Obi-Wan. So, I guess, Sox, do you have anything else you want to say about Asajj Ventress's return to the series?
I kind of hate stream. Figure out what's going on with the stream here. Hi. Okay. I don't know if I'm freezing up or you
I think you're freezing up. Well, viewers can say. Viewers, let us know which one of us is freezing up. But Sox, maybe try going off camera for a little bit. Like leave your audio on though. That might help.
All right, how that better?
Oh, much better, much better.
Let's see. All right.
So, any final thoughts on Asajj Ventress before we move on?
No, we can move on now. Hey, everybody that you know, my co-host asked me to go off camera because they're getting a little screwy. So you hear me talk, but I won't be on camera.
Yep, we always rather be able to hear you, at least. So now, the other cool return we got. Well, I'm sorry, what were you saying? Anyway, the other cool return we got was Cad Bane, and it was really cool seeing him again. Now, granted, he didn't interact with the Bad Batch at all, but he had his purpose too. It was basically he was there to capture the children, and he was brought in so naturally. This is that the Empire was capturing Force-sensitive children, so perfect time to bring back Cad Bane.
Cad Bane is one of my favorite bounty hunters. He's a sadistic fuck too, by the way. Oh my god, that dude is twisted.
That he is. He is. I mean, he gave the Jedi a run for their money.
He reminds me of Clint Eastwood in those old spaghetti westerns from the late 1960s and 70s. Same way, same demeanor, same way of. Have you ever watched any of the old Clint Eastwood western films from the 60s and 70s? Same, those old school westerns are really what he reminds me a lot of.
Have not seen those, but still, he is still a really cool character. And I mean, I'm sure viewers, what about you? What do you think about that? Does he remind you of those films, those Clint Eastwood films, if you've seen those?
Like, let's see here. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, another Fistful of Dollars. I mean, Eastwood did about, oh my God, he did a bunch of westerns back in the 60s and 70s. Outlaw Josie Wales, which is a good one. Unforgiven will always be the top one. Pale Rider. Let's see what else. There's a bunch of them.
But the point is, it was really cool to see Cad Bane return, and I think they used him in a great way. I think like Asajj Ventress, I think he got the amount of screen time we needed him to get. Plus, we know that he dies in Book of Boba Fett, or maybe he doesn't. They could always retcon that. But point is, there's only so much they can really do with Cad Bane, and
I was right. Thanks, Geek. I didn't know that. All right, cool. Well, thank you, Geek Spence.
Is that a Clint Eastwood movie?
Yeah, that's a 1968. Really good movie, by the way. Really, really good movie.
Yeah, I guess I'm showing him my age right now, aren't I?
Well, you'll get to it eventually if you want to watch it enough.
Anyway, now, who Cad Bane was capturing? The other children. So what do you think about these characters, Socks?
I really the only one I had I had no real issue with any of them is they're kids, they're scared of what's going on with them. They're being abducted from their homes and their families by this sick thing of a character that just wants to drag them away from their homes and put them in some sort of an internment camp. Basically, is what that was, and
Like the Jedi did. I mean, not internment camp, but the Jedi also did the same thing. They took people from their families.
Yeah, but there's a no. There's a difference there. There's a difference there because they would ask them, "Do you want to learn the ways of the Force? We can teach you. We're not taking you from your family permanently. Unlike the Sith, we're just taking you, and that's just how that is."
I don't know. I mean, granted, yes, the children were definitely treated better than in the Jedi were definitely treated in order than the ones in, I forgot the name of the prison, that place where Hemlock's base. But yeah, it was just definitely very cruel, and I think it was a very realistic reaction because they're not like Omega, who was trained in escaping these situations. They were just kids who don't know what to do, and the reaction was so realistic. But hey, they were still willing to help Omega in her escape plan.
When I saw how they were doing it, I kept thinking, did Dave Filoni and his writers watch something like The Great Escape or Escape from Alcatraz when they were filming this? Because what she's doing is basically what I've seen in movies before, where like this, The Great Escape with Steve McQueen, or Escape from Alcatraz with another Clint Eastwood movie, but it worked, I dug it. Hey, Broco. Hey, Linda.
But yeah, it was still really cool to see them actually be able to come through at the end of the day. And since Hemlock's database was destroyed, they can return to their families, even, which I thought was really nice.
I gotta mention this. I'm going off topic though. Well, just a little bit. I just wish we could have seen a little bit more of abilities of the Force for these kids. I really didn't see too much of.
That's a fair point. That would have actually, even Omega, we didn't even see that with Omega, honestly. They just kind of said she had it, but they didn't really go anywhere. I mean, and I think that's kind of part of it too, is that they didn't have training, so it's not like they can just use the Force. But maybe a little something, because there's sort of ways that they detect this stuff. So yeah, that's actually a very fair point. Like Grogu's brother.
Chess pieces. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, I understand there was so much going on, but a little bit of that wouldn't have hurt. That's a fair point. Especially in their escape attempt. Even if it was just like stopping when we're going through that wall, even if it was just like stopping the machine by reflex for a split second, but just enough for them to get away. That would have been perfect. There's a saying, show, don't tell.
Exactly.
So.
Right.
But yeah, so I guess that's one criticism. But overall, I did like the children. I liked their resolution. And now I want to kind of go on to the invasion of Pabu, which for those who don't know, that's the name of the home that the Bad Batch reside at, where Fee took them. And I will say this, Sox, like when Asajj Ventress tracked them down to Pabu, that made me nervous. That really made me nervous. And I'm like, okay, it's not long before someone else tracks them down, which she said that exactly. And when I saw that nice little village get raided by the Empire, I was so heartbroken.
That's the Empire. They were looking for that kid, and they were going to do whatever they had to do to find Omega, no matter what. And they had to decimate that whole town. They were going to decimate the whole town to get to her.
Yeah, it was just so hard though seeing that, because I think unlike these other villages, like we grew up with, like we saw Pabu, we had a chance to get attached to Pabu because you saw little things throughout the episode, even before, even Crosshair was making friends with people at Pabu. Crosshair was making friends, even. That's how crazy, that's how great the community was. And even when Crosshair was doing his training, he was a stranger to that community, and the village leader still brought him food as he was practicing his training. Now, granted, this was done off screen. Omega just made a comment that he found him, that he and his daughter found him and I think that's who it was. But anyway, that they found him to bring him food. But the point is, it shows how welcoming. I mean, the village leader was so welcoming of the Bad Batch to their community. And even as they were leaving, because they were potentially a danger, which that proved out to be true, he still was like, hey, you guys are welcome back here anytime. Like, he didn't really want them to leave.
It may have been that they were happy that they were there, and they felt safe that the Bad Batch was there because the Bad Batch would defend them. They're trained soldiers and they were on the right side, and by being, it works both ways. They're there to support them for being there, and they're also there to help them for allowing them to be there in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's not really addressed that that's why they said that, but that's actually another good point, though, is that, I mean, yes, they're kind of off the Empire's radar, but as you saw, that's not going to be the case forever. And even if they weren't looking for Omega, they still could have found them for some other reason at some point.
Sure.
And I will say this, though. One of my small criticisms of the series finale, and again, I don't have many of that series finale, mind you, but they don't really explain how Pabu was all of a sudden safe again. I mean, I know they said Hemlock's database was destroyed, but did that include Pabu's location?
I guess it was in that database, and he blew up the database, so I suppose that's what it was.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing that maybe wouldn't have hurt to have that explained a little bit, because the Bad Batch were still welcome on Pabu. I mean, even after that invasion, there doesn't seem to be any issue with them staying there. Like, I'll be honest, Alex, I expected the village leader to kind of lose that nice sincerity of it. Go on.
Yeah. I thought so. And I was just about to say what you were going to say. I thought the leader was going to say, I can't handle this. My people are in danger. You all got to go.
Yeah, I mean, not only that. I mean, they literally brought over like 100 clone troopers there at the end even. I mean, the village leader didn't talk, but you saw him there. He didn't like walk up to them and say, hey, you can't bring these guys here. And he was like, he was totally okay with it. Because odds are at least some of those clone troopers stayed. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I wish we kind of saw that addressed a little bit, though. Like, even like him saying, like, hey, this isn't your fault. You still came through and helped us out. Something like that. Just a little something that would have been like. But I mean, I'm glad that they were able to. I mean, I'm glad that Pabu ended up being a safe place because I really like that village. And since their first episode in season 2, I was like, please have the Bad Batch end with them residing on Pabu. Please have it end there. Because that's such a perfect ending for Bad Batch, which that's how it did end. Well, sort of. I mean, Omega leaves, but we'll talk about that ending later on. But yeah, sure. That was heartbreaking to see. But I mean, even if they resolved it off screen, I'm glad it did get resolved at least. But I'm just saying they could have used one more episode of Bad Batch, especially considering the fact that it was one episode shorter than the other 2 seasons. So,
yeah, which is weird, right? Most seasons were 16 episodes. This one was only 15.
I mean, and there was more story. I mean, there's reasons why. It's budget. Budget's a big reason for a lot of this stuff. Is that Disney was like, okay, we'll renew you, but we'll renew you for only 15 episodes because each episode costs money. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Now. But hey, I mean, to be fair, Pabu cannot completely blame the Bad Batch because who they technically tracked was this person right here. That's technically how they tracked Pabu. Wasn't through the Bad Batch, it was through Fee.
Yeah, this character.
I really like this character, Sock. She's such an awesome, badass character. The way that she was able to sneak on Papu and help the Bad Batch escape. And, like, I love how she sneaks onto when they go to rescue Hemlock. I love the way how she gets on and she's, like, doing that reckless plan of speeding really fast. And, or, like, you know, she was, like, she turned off the plane, right? That's what it was. She turned off the plane and turned it on at the last minute before landing to avoid detection.
Yeah, we've seen that done before. I mean, that's not been done, but no, that's not new. I hate to quote this. I apologize beforehand. We saw Ray do that in part 7, man. It's like, oh god.
Why are we, Sox? We're not talking about non-canon stuff on this right now.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. But let's see. Oh yeah, all right. So then it didn't happen in anywhere else. So it is brand new. Okay, never mind then, people.
But yeah, but still though, I think she was. I always love this character. She has great attitude, there's a lot of spunk to her, and again, she wasn't in a lot. She was basically in one episode. I mean, I'm saying one episode. Technically, she was in 2, but she had that non-speaking cameo, or I guess said very few lines in the previous episode. So she really only had one episode in this half of the season. I mean, in the sections you see in the title, because she was in it earlier, But hey, the episode she did, she was awesome.
Yeah.
And she came through for them.
She was a hell of a pilot, that's for damn sure.
And the village clearly loves her, so maybe that's one reason why they didn't ban the Bad Batch, because technically it was Fee that was the one they tracked. You can't punish the Bad Batch for tracking Fee down.
Right.
So, and I guess they love Fee because, like, she clearly had more of a familial bond with the village leader and his daughter.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of her later on down the line and something else. I don't think we've seen the last of her. I got a weird
Oh,
thing.
no. I don't think so either, because they're going to do another animated show at some point. We know this, and I think there's a lot of story they can... And actually, we're going to talk about that, an idea I have where they could bring this character back. But anyways, now I have to pull a Mikey Sutton and get some water. You go on and talk about what you think about this character returning.
Zillow Beast. I'm trying to remember who. God, let's see. Zillow Beast. I gotta try to remember who the Zillow Beast is. You have to forgive me on this one. This is the one character that I've seemed to have zoned out on. So, sorry, all my webcam is acting a little goofy. I hope you all can hear me, but StreamYard.
Let me just clarify the Zillow Beast real quick. I heard that.
Yeah, I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember Zillow Beast.
It's in the Clone Wars. Remember that creature that had the tough scales that Palpatine wanted to capture and study?
Yeah.
And at the end, they killed the Zillow Beast and they cloned it.
Oh, you mean that big red thing that what the kids let out, right? That thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Okay, now I got it. Okay, that was the creature that was being tortured by the Empire, and when the kids were getting out, they let it out so to cause a distraction, so the Bad Batch can get in there, get Omega and her kids and her friends out. At the same time that they was getting out, Omega and the kids were also getting out, but the Bad Batch didn't know about it. But they're coming in and they're seeing the Zillow Beast, which is this big red-looking monster that's like got tired of being tortured upon. It's like, I'm getting the hell out of here, and I'm tired of being, prodded and poked and hurt and all this crap. Get me the hell out of this goofy place. And it tortured the whole base to get out. Well, by doing that, the Bad Batch was able to finally get in there. So there you go. It's kind of funny. I guess I'll just sit here and stroke my beard a while. Yeah, stroking my beard. Let's see. The beard is being... Oh, wow. The beard has gotten longer. I keep stroking the beard here.
Well, you're off camera, so you can do that without... But So basically, from my understanding, this wasn't the real Zilla Beast from Clone Wars. This was a clone, which actually makes sense because they were at that was a facility for clone prisoners, and that Zilla Beast is technically a clone. But it was still really cool to see it return. I mean, we saw it in the last season. I remember that. It was really cool that they carried an arc from, or maybe that I have to rewatch season 2 again. But I'm pretty sure that Zilla Beast was a clone, but regardless, it was really cool to see the Zilla Beast again. And that's one thing I love about Bad Batch is that they actually carry over story arcs from Clone Wars. And it makes sense because the Empire would still, because I mean, Palpatine was the one who'd captured that Zilla Beast, and he was in charge of the Republic, and he's in charge of the Empire. So, and it was such a smart plan from Omega too.
We're gonna have to talk about. Yeah,
about what?
It was actually very smart because by doing what she did, the Bad Batch was able to finally get in there because they were trying to figure out how to get in there, and they didn't really know what they were how to get in there. But all of a sudden, the Zilla Beast busted out because it said, "I'm tired of being tortured. I'm getting the hell out of here." And they're like, "Well, we found an entrance, and I'm going to go in there." But they didn't even realize that she was trying to get herself and her friends out of there because they were already in the, crawling around trying to get out of there. So it worked out on both sides.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, remember, the Zilla Beast is intelligent, was shown to be intelligent in Clone Wars. So it makes sense that the Zilla Beast wouldn't attack Omega because Omega freed it. Why would the Zilla Beast attack her? She saved it, and the Zilla Beast isn't intelligent enough to know that. So it makes perfect sense that the Zilla Beast wouldn't even attack her. So I loved it. And it just kind of ran off into the sunset. Didn't really do anything else. They just ran off and killed all the stormtroopers, which I love seeing. I love seeing the Empire get so mercilessly slaughtered.
At that part, right before it happened, Governor Tarkin tells Rampart, he's going off on him saying, "Well, I'm hearing that there's something going on at that base," and Rampart's trying to blow it off, whatever. And we both know Governor Tarkin is like, "I don't care what you say. I'm the top guy here, other than Vader and the Emperor. I'm going to get my way, regardless of what you say, and that's final." And people don't seem to understand that Governor Tarkin is a snake. I mean, he's going to do that.
Sax, there's one thing you said that may not be completely correct. You said above Vader above him. That may not even be true, because remember in A New Hope, Vader was choking that guy, and Tarkin's like, "Vader, release him," and Vader immediately complied.
Because Vader respects him.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but I don't think Vader necessarily is completely above Tarkin. I think they're either on equal levels, or Tarkin may rank above Vader. But the point is, if anyone else said Vader release him like that, Vader would have responded by choking him as well, or her as well.
Right. I mean, the only other person he didn't do that before Return of the Jedi was the Emperor. You didn't see, Vader listen to anybody else other than Tarkin. That was it. I tell a lie. There was one other person that had the balls that was affiliated with the Empire that could tell Vader off in a way where Vader let him say what he wanted to say. That was Boba Fett. And the Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett says, "He's no good to me, dead. You will be compensated if he dies." Because what Boba Fett's father did for the clones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that's actually a really good point. Now, I will say this. As much as I agree with that change from Empire Strikes Back, I wish Tamora Morrison delivered the lines more like Jason Wintergreen did. Because the problem with the remastered version there with Tamora Morrison is that he makes it sound so polite when he's like, "He's no good to me, dead." Or like when he says, "What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me." Jason Wintergreen his delivery was he was talking back to Vader, whereas Tamora Morrison was making a polite request, basically.
But my point is that if it weren't for Jango doing what he did for the Empire, Boba would have never been able to get away with that. That's a fact. No. Boba would have been dead. That would have been in the bubble right then and there. How dare talking to Vader like that? You have a lightsaber cut your head off for saying some shit like that, man.
Like your father. But
Right.
I will say Tarkin was kind of pushing it a little bit because remember, the Emperor already told Hemlock that he was good.
Yeah.
Or wait, I get these two mixed up.
Rampart.
Wait, I thought Rampart was the first bad guy. Hemlock's the new one.
Right, exactly. You
But
gotta
Hemlock,
remember,
he was
man.
telling Hemlock that. Okay, I'm just gonna verify this real quick because like both are in this. Hemlock. Let me just clarify this before we say something incorrect. Yeah. So Hemlock was the one that Tarkin was talking to like that, where Tarkin was. But I'm thinking, Palpatine already gave Hemlock his blessing. He already did that, so I thought he was kind of pushing it a little bit with that first call. Was that like the Emperor already has clearance above you, dude? What are you talking about?
Let me make a reference here because you've seen Rogue One, right?
Yes.
You remember
Yes.
when Tarkin was basically going off on Commander Reddick? You know, when Reddick says he was the one that created, basically the Death Star and, what was that program that he came out for the Death Star? Stardust. It was, he was the one that engineered all that stuff besides Ursula's father. By him dying, Tarkin was able to use that for himself to get more power with the Empire, with the Emperor. But the messed up thing is that because he would screw over anybody to get that position of power.
Well, actually, supposedly the Emperor was glad that Tarkin died on the Death Star.
Right.
And well, here's the thing with Tarkin. In some ways, Tarkin went a little too far at times. And I'm not talking about morally. I'm talking about strategically. Like, you can try to turn your camera on for a little bit. See if it's good now. If it's bad, I'll just let you know. But you can turn it on for a little bit. We'll see what. But here's what people need to realize. When Tarkin blew up Alderaan, that ended up being one of the stupidest things he did for the Empire. Because what he did is he caused a lot of sympathy for the rebellion. The Rebel Alliance gained a lot of sympathy after that happened. Because as far as the public knew, I'm not talking about the reality of Alderaan. As far as the general public knew, Alderaan was an imperial loyal planet. So when they were blown up, the message that was sent to the public was obey the Emperor, the Empire, and die. Don't obey the Empire and still die. So unfortunately, that was actually a very stupid move that Tarkin did right there. So point is, Tarkin's not as smart as you think he is. Like, Thrawn was a better leader than Tarkin was because Thrawn was smart and knew that loyalty is how you inspire good men, whereas Tarkin used fear. But fear is only so effective because if they have a chance to betray you and know they'll get away with it, they're going to do it. Whereas with loyalty, they won't. So, and when Tarkin was calling Hemlock right there, trying to supersede Palpatine himself, I'm thinking, dude, you're an idiot. Just, Palpatine gave approval, shut up. I mean, he got lucky that Hemlock did fail, but if Hemlock didn't, to the point that Palpatine was apparently upset too, but I'm just saying, Tarkin kind of got lucky right there that Hemlock did fail, because if he was pushing it too much, Tarkin would have pushed it with the Empire, because not even Tarkin can get away with everything, people.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Tarkin outsmarted everybody. If he was lucky or not, he outsmarted Krennic, he outsmarted Hemlock, he outsmarted Rampart. He got what he wanted until eventually he caught up to when he blew up in the Death Star with a New Hope. But still, he got over. That's what he did.
Yeah, and the problem is he got too greedy at that point, though. Is that he got, or not, and it cost him because, again, because the thing is, even if Tarkin survived on the Death Star, Palpatine would have killed him right then and there. So Tarkin was lucky to be.
Yeah, sure.
But point is, I don't want to get too far off topic off Bad Batch, but I'm just saying that scene, he was a bit of an idiot, but it was kind of cool to see him at the end of the episode when he comes in, like right as the Bad Batch and the other clones leave. That's when Tarkin and his men appear, and they're just like, "What the fuck happened?" And again, all the funding gets diverted into Project Stardust, which Thrawn's project was better. I'm just saying, Thrawn's project actually would have been a threat to the.
Yeah.
But anyway, point is, it was kind of cool to see Tarkin in Bad Batch, but you kind of see a lot of where his ambition kind of led him. The ambition that was his downfall, I feel like you kind of see a little bit of it in Bad Batch. I don't know. What do you think, Sox?
No, I agree with that. I know that Thrawn is a better military leader than Tarkin. Tarkin, all Tarkin cared about was Tarkin. That's all Tarkin cared. He cared about what he could do for himself. He didn't care about anybody else. In a lot of ways, that's like the Emperor is that same way. Tarkin, all about is for Tarkin.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's what he is, and it cost him. Now, this character was also for himself, Rampart. So now, this is the guy who was arrested in Season 2 after Palpatine arrested him for following his orders, but also for failing him. And he ended up on that planet that they saved him. And I'll be honest, Sox, I was worried that they were going to try to give him a redemption arc in this season when the Bad Batch rescued him. And I'm so glad they didn't. Because, to me, here's the thing. My thing with redemption arcs. The reason why I was such a fan of Callus's redemption arc is that betraying the Empire didn't benefit him at all. The reason why he defected was because he saw how good the rebels treated Zeb and how bad he was treated when he returned to the Empire. He saw the poor treatment, really saw the poor treatment of the Empire firsthand, and he was appalled by it. But he had an actual change in heart. My issue with Rampart is if they were going to give him a redemption arc, it would have simply been, it was just a better opportunity for him to survive. But defecting to survive is not the same thing as defecting to be a good person, because your conscience caught up to you. So I was really glad that, it was really cool to see him, but I'm really glad they did not give him that redemption arc.
I was glad that Rampart died. And he was trying to take all the data, all the information for himself. And guess who wasn't killing him? The one character you said you couldn't stand ended up killing him. And he was like, well, it's going to piss Batman off because he hated her so much. But yeah, she had a thermal detonator in her hand and boom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I moved the topic. We'll talk about her next because I definitely have a lot to say about Nalase in these last few episodes, but it was really cool seeing Rampart again, though, and I love seeing him when he pretended to be an Imperial officer again, when he was able to sneak the Bad Batch on that ship. I thought that was so cool seeing him in action doing that, and I'll be honest, Sox, I didn't recognize him at first when they were on that prison because he had the beard, and it's not like his face really stuck out to me that much. So I was like, oh, wait, that's Rampart. I didn't even realize it.
I was so glad to see him go. But I was surprised how he went. I was surprised that she did what she did. But like I said, we'll get to there. But I was like, you're a fool, man. You are a fool. You deserve what you get.
And him trying to get in Crosshair's head, I'm like, dude, Crosshair defected because he had a conscience, because he saw the Empire's mistreatment and saw the Empire for what it was. Again, Crosshair is nothing like you do. You're just a dick. But I did like that when he was trying to portray the Bad Batch, he wasn't defecting to the Empire. He was just trying to survive and sell it to the highest bidder, get in to have a negotiating standpoint. But he wasn't necessarily trying to return to his position. At least unless I remember that wrong. I could, but
you're right.
Because it wouldn't make sense. Because why would he trust the Empire? I mean, Palpatine sold him out. The head honcho himself sold him out. So I'm not talking about morally. I'm saying logistically speaking, he has no reason to return to the Empire completely. Just enough to survive and get hidden. That's what he would really want. Because that's smart, and that's what it seemed like he was going for, which I think that was such a smart direction the writers went with his character.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, sure.
But it was kind of cool seeing Rampart again, because he was the bad guy for the first half of Bad Batch. He was the bad guy for the first season and the second half of season 2. He was the main bad guy. So I really like seeing him again. And I thought how they ended his character was perfect.
It was definitely putting closure on certain things. And that was that loose end from the last season when we finally saw this guy again. Like, finally, now we can close this book in altogether with this character, because he was an arrogant fool, man. So, but again, arrogance always catches up to those that are truly arrogant.
Well said. Now, this character, Nala Se, and I'm going to say this right now. You can see it on my background. I'm trying to point to it. Justice for Five. I'm sorry. So the camera is kind of like a mirror, so it's not like a perfect. But anyway, Justice for Fives. Because Nala Se drugged Fives and made Fives appear uncredible to the Republic when he was trying to tell his story. And Nala Se is one of the biggest reasons I say justice for Fives. I wanted Nala Se to suffer and admit I never should have done that to Fives. She feels regret, sure, but I wanted her to acknowledge this guy right here. I wanted her to acknowledge this. Okay, I'm going to stop pointing to it. You see where I'm trying to point. Justice for Fives. I want to see Nala Se acknowledge what she did to my boy Fives. I wanted her to get a painful death, or at least get shot once and saying, that's for Fives. That's what I wanted for Nala Se. I am so mad they gave her a heroic death.
Well, she did get shot. I mean, she died. The thermal detonator went off. So she did get shot by Rampart. And then the thermal detonator blew up everything.
Well, I know she got shot, but what I mean, and actually, Tim Talk, thanks for stopping by. I think this is the first time I've seen you on the channel, so welcome. But what I mean, though, Sox, is that was a heroic death, though. That shot was from the bad guy, and that was an honorable, heroic death. I wanted her to get shot by Echo or Rex and saying, that's for Fives. That's what I wanted when I said her getting shot. And actually, hold on, I just gotta make someone a moderator real quick. And oh no, Sin Havoc. Nala Se is gonna get multiple punches from me after what she did to Fives. So, okay, so Sox, you feel free to speak up now. Don't worry about what I'm going to say, because I'm sure you have a different opinion on Nala Se than I do. What's your opinion on Nala Se in these last few episodes?
For a while, it's like one way she's trying to be one way, then the other. But the last couple of episodes, she's trying to. I know you don't like the idea of a redemption arc for this character. I get it. I'm not saying that there should be a redemption arc for her, but she kind of, did the right thing, man. I mean, she blew up the lab. She blew up all the data. I mean, as much of a jerk as she was, and I'm not defending her what she did in her past. If it weren't for her, the Empire would have got all the data. So she stopped it.
And I do have to give her that. She did save the other clones at least. So I do have to give her that. But I wanted her to at least acknowledge what she did was wrong with the Fives. I wanted some justice for Fives with Nala Se, and we didn't get that.
I think, in the end, justice for Fives is going to be forgotten about. And I know it's going to aggravate you. I get it. You're like,
No.
I'm not trying to say you should forget about it. I'm saying that they're just like trying to. They should have gave the acknowledgement what you're saying. I agree. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. They should have. She should have been. She should have acknowledged she screwed up. I understand that, but you know, it's messed up. I agree. I'm not trying to get on your bad side back then. I'm just trying to say, yeah, she should have acknowledged it, but she did save the day by blowing up the data. If she didn't get rid of it, the Empire would have known everything about Omega and the clones and got all that information.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I'm not saying she didn't
stopped
do any
it.
good, and
So you got to
she
take the
did
good
do
with the
good.
bad.
Yeah, I know, and she did have a redemption arc that was not completely bad. I will say that, and she did save the clones. I will say that too. So I'm going to be honest. I'm biased in this because Fives has a special place in my heart because I felt so bad when no one would listen to him, and he was.
I get it.
That's why Fives is such a staple of my Star Wars coverage on this channel. That's why every Star Wars video, at least once, I have to say justice for Fives.
I understand that.
Anyway, feel free, Sox. Any final thoughts on Alice?
No, but you can also look at it like this: you got rid of two bad characters in one way or another at the same time when the room went kablooey, because both of them screwed up, both of them did some stupid crap, and we're not gonna miss either one of them because it was. If you think about it, also like that, it's like, you know what? Yeah, they both can go. So no love lost there. So goodbye.
And you know who else needed to go that I'm kind of disappointed we didn't see, or she didn't even get mentioned, I don't think, was Sid. I didn't like that. I feel like we needed one episode with Sid at least. Even if she returns and gets shot by, I'll say Crosshair, because Crosshair didn't get a chance to meet her. And I don't know. What do you think about them not having Sid at all this season?
Sid to me, I don't know what to make of it. And then sometimes she comes across as a fucking, backhanding, Jabba the Hutt type gangster type character, man. It might sell you out before you even realize. I can't trust somebody like that, dude. I'm serious, man. It's like if I gotta worry about you putting a fucking, price on my head because you need money, dude, I can't respect you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I wouldn't. I mean, she sold out the Bad Batch. At the end of the day, she sold out the Bad Batch, and she seems sad doing it,
Right.
but oh my god, a lot of people are trying to pit us against each other now. But I just would have liked one episode where maybe they go to her because they need information, and then afterwards they shoot her for selling them out. But I feel like we needed some sort of resolution with Sid.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And she
But
wasn't
I
even
don't know.
mentioned.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't mentioned at all.
She
Which is
wasn't
funny
even
'cause
mentioned in the last 2 episodes, right, or 3 episodes.
Well, especially considering
she just
Fee's-
disappeared altogether.
I mean, when I say Fee's friends with Sid, she's more of an ally of Sid's. But I don't even think Fee considers her a friend. She even says, like, I'm not getting on Sid's bad side, and she specifically introduced them to Pabu to hide them from Sid. So, I mean, it's not like Fee would rat them out to Sid, but I don't know, not even like Fee getting a reaction, but again, we didn't see Fee find out about Tech's death on screen, but I will say this, not season 3 so much. I can understand seasons 1 and 2, but season 3 didn't really have that many filler episodes. And besides, Clone Wars had a lot of filler episodes too, but now I will say one good thing about Sid, though, not being in season 3 was before she betrayed them, she was actually responsible for a lot of the filler episodes. So
yeah, that I agree with you right there. I agree.
So that, I mean, I'll put it like this. I was glad they didn't have any more Mission for Sid episodes, because I think, as much as I love the Bad Batch series, I think those are some of the worst episodes, because I'm interested in the Bad Batch fight the Empire. That's what interests me. Them doing these random missions for Sid, I'm like, yeah, I could do without those, honestly. So from that narrative, I'm kind of glad that narrative was gone. But now that she betrayed them, I feel like he could have just gotten an episode with her and just one to give that like proper closure. So
Exactly.
I don't know. Any final thoughts?
No, we can move on.
Now I want to get on to the other clone prisoners. So these are the other ones other than, what up, Darth Plato? These are the other ones other than Omega and Crosshair. But what do you think about the other clone prisoners in this series?
Especially like the last episode where they joined up with Omega because she let them all out, and she, and her and Crosshair was, up against a real bad spot because they didn't even know they were gonna make it, and then they said, "We'll join you, we'll help you." I was glad to see that, man, because they were gonna be experimented on, they were gonna be tortured, like the rest of them, so they had to get out of there too. They deserve their freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's not really nothing about the clone prisoners until the last episode, but when you do see them, I thought it was so cool to see that they're still soldiers. Is that after everything they went to, they're still soldiers at the end of the day. And even though I think some of them died in their mission, that's what a soldier does.
They still have their training. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was such
Well,
a...
they still had their training, they still had their loyalty, and they realized that the Empire didn't care for them.
No, because again, you can't blame the clones for what happened, because as, my whole Justice for Fives thing reveals, the clones did not willingly betray the Jedi. There were inhibitor chips in their brains that forced them to commit the act. And I think kind of the way the inhibitor chip works is once that act's committed, the only thing the chip made them do was kill the Jedi. Order 66. But it doesn't make them do everything else. So most of their morals are still intact. So after they complete their mission, there's no reason for them to be douchebags all of a sudden. No, they're still moral people. Like that one clone from, you saw him this season again, but I forgot his name, but he was in the episode with Hera and Rebels, and for Rebels in that 2-part episode in season 1, and then he returned in season 3 working for Rex. But it's kind of like how he didn't report when Hera snuck out to the Empire. Is that he still had sympathy and was against the mistreatment of the Empire, because the chips kind of slowly start to wear off. So once the chips are kind of worn off and they complete their mission, my point is that they have no reason to be loyal to the Empire anymore. There's nothing about it. Especially, I think a lot of them, honestly, probably even remove their inhibitor chips, because I think a lot of them were horrified by what they'd done. Crosshair did.
So we've already seen what the Bad Batch. Oh yeah, Crosshair did. Well, the Bad Batch was able to get away from it, and so was Reds and his crew. So there's got to be a lot more of them out there that said, "Hey man, I'm not dealing with this. I gotta get this out of my hand and go on my own life."
Only Rex himself, because we know Gregor removed his, but Wolf didn't remove it right away because he was still loyal to the Empire. Last we saw him in Bad Batch, right. But Rex's crew, like his crew, the 501st, they all died. Well, the half that was accompanying Ahsoka. Rex was the only one that survived that because Ahsoka was the one who removed his inhibitor chip.
Yeah.
But the point is the order's done, so the clones are good guys. The clones are good guys. And I love seeing them as soldiers, and I love the ending they got at the end. That most of them are on Pabu, or they can fight if they want to, but at least go on.
Well, didn't they? I could have sworn that their lifespan was shorter than others, but they may have found a way around that. I'm not exactly sure that's actually real or not. Because I don't think it's at one point.
I don't necessarily think that it's completely short. Like, you're right. I think like the kid phase is shorter, but I think once they become adults, I think then it's normal. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure once they reach adulthood, then from there it remains like a normal human. But it's kind of why Omega called Crosshair and the other guy's little brother, because Omega's technically older than them.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is true. That part's true. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
But it was so cool to see the clones fighting in action again, seeing the clones in action and rooting for them again. It was so I really love seeing that, and seeing that they are soldiers, that their soldier training has not gone away. That they all, I mean, the thing is, they wanted to help out. They weren't forced to help out. They had the choice to leave, but they're like, no, we're helping you guys. We're helping you guys.
Well, because Omega and Crosshair got them out of there. And they said, hey, we'll free you. Let's do. You want to help us? It's up to you. And they said, yeah, we'll help you.
Because the clones, they're loyal to their brothers. That's why they call them brothers, because the clones are brothers.
Yep.
And Rex especially emphasizes that mentality too. So, but the whole point is the clones are loyal to each other. And that's why it's so heartbreaking seeing the clones. Like in the Obi-Wan series, when you saw that one clone trooper begging for money, I felt so bad for that guy because he didn't willingly do anything wrong. I mean, maybe that one did, but as far as we know, he didn't willingly do anything wrong, and now he's a homeless guy begging for money. Retype that one, Integrity. Or wait a minute, hold on. He's typing it backwards. Oh, okay, Integrity, you just typed it backwards. Okay. I thought that was like a typo. Oh, and you typed. Oh my God, I didn't realize. Ah, man, Integrity, I love you, but yeah. Anyway, point is, that was to me. This was one of the highlights of this finale, and the finale had many highlights.
Well, we got to talk about one more thing because I know I'm going to forget about it. I guess, man, and I hated it, but I guess it's true. Tech died. Tech did die.
Oh, yeah.
And that bothered me. I mean, because I kept thinking Tech was going to come back. I really did. I kept thinking he's going to show up in the last episode. I kept saying, here he comes, here he comes, here he comes. He didn't show up.
I'm actually really glad, though. I'm going to be honest with you, Sox. I disagree. I think that was the right decision because death needs to be real once in a while. Death needs to be real. It needs to be permanent, and it needs to have consequences once in a while. And I even said, like, please have Tech's death be permanent because I'm tired of the not really dead trope or they came back to life trope.
Well, one thing I didn't notice about what the last episode was Echo. I realized something while watching Echo when he was infiltrating.
Well, hold on. This is being breaking up into different topics. We do have an Echo topic coming up.
All right. Well, I'll stick with Tech then. I guess by doing that was the right decision because, like you said, death should have a serious consequence. You should be able to come back all the time like that. And yeah, it was at least he went out a hero. He went out fighting. So. Yeah.
And plus, they found his goggles. They somehow recovered his goggles from that after that fall. I don't know how, but they have his goggles. You see a crack in them, and you even see that when Omega's placing it on Pabu in that little stand.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I was really glad that. I mean, I think that was the right call. Because we needed that death, and he went out a badass. And
yeah.
So anyway, now we'll move on. Just for you, Sox, we'll make Echo the next topic. What were you going to say before I cut you off?
Echo, in the last episode, Echo infiltrated the base as that storm, in the stormtrooper outfit. I had realized right then and there, Echo could do everything that Tech can do. He could do exactly the same thing Tech can do. So I was watching him and I was like, that's why they don't need Tech anymore. They got Echo. Echo's able to do the exact same thing.
I mean, there's some stuff Tech could do that Echo couldn't do because like Echo still needed to go to tech for data decryption. Okay, so I'm sorry, that point did relate to tech. My apologies. I should let you finish that part, but
No, but this is just how I saw it. Because Echo was just as, to me, it seemed like he could do exactly the same thing Tech can do, and I just saw him as able to be able to get away with that. And again, I was kind of bummed out that Tech died, but I understood. But I watched it, and then I watched the episode again, and I realized that there was no reason for Techo to be wrong because you got Echo now. Since Tech is gone, Echo is the replacement. And they did they found the goggles, they recovered it for the final couple minutes of the last episode. So they obviously found his body and gave him a proper burial.
yeah,
I guess that was all right, I guess.
I love these discussions. I can't wait for when we end Marvelous discussions. We have Civil War. Just saying right now, we're going to have a lot of disagreements there. But anyway, back to Echo.
Yeah.
Back to Echo, though. I was glad we saw some Echo finally.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see a lot of him. But in the last few episodes, he was actually important again.
Well, because he was gone for a while. And, it left a gaping, hole without Tech. And then, I can think, well, at least bring Echo back. And they were able to do that. So I was happy that Echo came back to fulfill, to help the rest, take out, take out the rest of them and, get out of there. Because without him, I don't think they would have made it. So, and he's part of that the Bad Batch. He will always be a member of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, exactly. Even he works for the Rebellion now. But I read this comment that's a really good point. He was the perfect person to interact with Amira Carr. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong because think about it. He was imprisoned by the Separatists and experimented on after the Citadel, after rescuing that one Jedi and Tarkin from the Citadel.
Yeah.
So he was the perfect person to really have that interaction, that horrified reaction from Amira Carr doing this to brothers. And I really loved Echo's story arc in the last few episodes. Is that when you saw him, it felt like he never left. It felt like he was always there. And then he gets it. It was so perfect. And he was the one who kind of worked with her and took Amira Carr to Rex and to join the rebellion.
Yeah,
it was so perfect. Echo had such a great arc in these last few episodes.
The more I think about Echo taking over Ted's spot, because Tech was passed on, I'm starting to realize you're right. Tech had because it had so much going on with this last season. So many characters coming in, going out, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Echo was the one character that could do it because Hunter, he's his own character. He's not really in the whole technology thing. Neither is Wrecker. Wrecker is the brawn of the group, which I love Wrecker so much for who he is, and same with Hunter. You need that tech wizard in that group. Tech is gone. So who else you got? You can't do Crosshair because he's a sniper. He's the lone wolf, but yeah, he needs to be part of a family. He has his own psychological issue going on with his head, with his hands shaking like that. So it had to be Echo. That made sense.
And, I'll say this. I think there's potential to see more of Echo in some future series, which we'll get into at another topic. But, yeah. And, it's funny. We talk Tech. So many people thought he was going to be one of the clone commandos, that he was Scorch or one of the other ones.
Yeah.
But I like, in some ways, that they didn't make them established clones, that they were just clones, that they could have been anyone. It could have been Cody or it could have not been Cody. My guess is it's not, because my rule is that if it is a specific clone, you have to mention it. If you don't, then it's not.
Well, in the last episode where the Bad Batch gets in there and then they got captured, captured, and Echo's like, he sees them captured, he's gonna go after his brothers. But that other group of clones, man, they're wrecking all of them crazy for a while. But man, it was funny how they got over on them guys.
You know, it was kind of funny how they were. I did feel like they were defeated at the end, though, just because it was the end of the episode. They're like, okay, time for the good guys to win now.
Yeah.
Like, they were this unstoppable force. And it wasn't completely unbelievable, though. But I did kind of feel a little... I don't know. I mean, and again, maybe because it was a bunch of clones fighting them, there's only so much they can do at that point. But it's kind of a horrific concept, is that innocent clones are being brainwashed to the point that they're essentially mindless. In a way, they're kind of like mindless zombies, just obsessed with fulfilling an order. Following an order. That's what I should say. But their identities are gone, and it's kind of a sad, it's a scary thing to happen, honestly.
Yep, that's what the Emperor wanted with the clone troopers, man. He wanted them to be brainless zombies in a lot of ways, then that's why he replaced them with the stormtroopers, and that was no better at all.
Oh no, the stormtroopers was worse. You would have been better off just keeping the clones.
Yeah.
Like, having the inhibitor chips do something else in their brains, because...
I know, I agree.
But, I mean, those clone commandos, oh my god, if those things were around longer and had more of them, the Empire would have won.
Yeah, especially the 501 Legion. That was Vader's personal army. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, in terms of this episode, in terms of these last few episodes, they were cool. They were badass. Taken down a little too easily at the end, I will admit, but not. I know I sound kind of indecisive when I say that. It's like not completely unbelievable, but not completely believable.
It's one of those things where, you know, sometimes it seems like when you watch the last episode of a show, which like in this case, it almost feels like it's rushed. Like you could do at least one more episode that stretches out a little bit better, fellas. But you can almost see certain times where, are they rushing this to get this over with or what?
And to be honest, I didn't really feel that too much with Bad Batch. This was one of the only exceptions. But also, to be fair, it's not like the Clone Commandos were really in it that much either. Now that I think about it. Right. It's not like they were the bad guy of every episode. So maybe, again, we just saw them kind of get lucky the first few times. And now it's against all the clones. They're not. Even they can lose. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was going to make it the Imperial Stormtrooper armor. Because the Stormtrooper armor sucked, even addressed in Rebels itself. Okay, equivalent rank. Okay, I knew it was something. But anyway, now this is a character who I'm glad got redemption and didn't need to die, because she didn't do anything that bad, unlike Nala Se. Emre, her name. That's how you pronounce it. Emre. What do you think about this character, Socks? This was the female clone science person.
You know, I had no real hate towards her, because I kind of understood what she was doing. And she did help out Omega a lot early on, you know, in her own way. Unlike the other female doctor that was next to her all the time, that I couldn't stand her character at all. But
Nala Se.
Yeah, I get it. But I was glad that she helped out Echo. So, because she realized what Echo was. She was like, looked at him, she's like, you know, she kind of like determined that real quick. You know, so obviously she wasn't an idiot, and she lived, so she survived.
And I'm glad she survived, because at the end of the day, she just believed what the Empire was doing. She didn't really experience all the horrific stuff that the Empire was doing. When she saw the children, that's what kind of made her revert to, oh my God, this isn't right. And here's the thing with her character is that she actually had good she could do to live. So sacrificing herself to feel like she needs to redeem herself, no, there was actually a lot of stuff she could do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and plus, like I said, I'm glad he didn't kill her off, so I had no problem with her character.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of. I think they did exactly what they needed to do with this character. So I think she was great. And I love that she that she went with Echo. She went with Echo at the end of the day to give the information to Rex. I think it was Rex, but the rebellion. So now one character who's just Hemlock. My God, when Hemlock died at the end, when he was shot, that was so satisfying to see. He is just, there's something about his calm demeanor. He's a sociopath. Like, Hemlock is a sociopath, plain and simple. The way he's so calm about the damage that he does, it's scary. It's like, he just, like, his voice even, there's just something about him that's like, do not get this on this guy's bad side, unless you're Tarkin.
I really just
What about you,
that
Sam?
water
What do you think
became
of-
fish food. I was so glad he was like, goodbye, just goodbye.
I mean, he's a character that we hate, but he's a character that we need to hate. No, like he was a good villain. He was exactly, and this is what I like about Hemlock too, is that he was just a villain. Because I'm so tired of a lot of these shows nowadays. They're trying to make all these villains sympathetic, which actually is an issue I have with Tales of the Empire. But sometimes it's okay for a villain to just be a villain, and Hemlock was, and he was horrifying. He was scary, and he was just an evil sociopathic person. But you could tell his desperation when Tarkin wants to shut him down, and he's like handcuffed with Omega. Damn, that was something.
At one point I got the feeling that if they didn't take that shot right, because Omega, she was able to get around that. If they would have shot, he would have went over that bridge. She would have went over with him, but Omega outsmarted him.
Not just Omega though, Crosshair, and this is where Crosshair is the real MVP.
Yeah.
Is that when that clone commando cut off his shooting hand, his dominant hand, they inadvertently did him a favor, and Crosshair didn't realize it because that was the hand that was shaking. But Crosshair was able to take that shot with his non-dominant hand.
That was Crosshair. Like Crosshair said, I'm not leaving her. She came back for me. We can't leave her. And Hunter's like, we're not leaving her. We gotta go find her.
And this is why I love Crosshair's little arc, because he's trying to essentially sacrifice himself because he feels like he needs to after what he did. And Hunter and Rick are like, no, we're in this together. They're not gonna let Crosshair sacrifice himself because he feels like he has to. And I really love Crosshair's arc. Is that he? Oh, Hemlock, you mean?
Yeah.
But, I'm sorry. Any final thoughts on Hemlock before we continue on with Crosshair?
No, we can move on.
But I guess, Max, what are your thoughts on Crosshair's arc this season?
There we go again. No, we can move on to Crosshair now.
Yeah, that's where we are. What are your thoughts on Crosshair this season?
I was glad that he was able to find his way back with the Bad Batch, because I really hated him going against them a while back, and then, but he had to be broken down to realize, hey man, he was wrong, and he was, Omega didn't give up on him. Omega like, no, he's still good. We just gotta bring him back into the fold. And I'm glad that even though Hunter and Wrecker were a little standoffish from the beginning, he was still their brother, and he was able to redeem himself. you know. And I then I was glad. I was grateful.
And I really loved his ending, is that he ended up on Pabu, safe with the Bad Batch, safe with... But he really tried to come through. He came through at the end of the day, saved Omega, saved the other clone troopers. And I like that, in the end, he was just kind of a regular part of the Bad Batch again. He wasn't... He was trusted just as much as Wrecker and Hunter were.
Yeah, and even though he lost his hand, but it helped him out in the long run.
Yeah. And he was able to take that shot with the non-dominant hand. And, Hunter's kind of giving him a pep talk, believing in him. Because that took a precise shot. I mean, to shoot Hemlock, have him fall, but save Omega, that was precise shooting.
And he's the only one who could take that shot because Hunter couldn't take that shot in that rain, that far away distance.
No. Just Crosshair. So, and now Wrecker. What did you think about this character in the last few episodes?
I thought for a split second there, I thought Wrecker was dead in the last episode. Scared the hell out of me. I already thought he got killed. I was like, no. I've already lost tech. I can deal with that, but don't kill Wrecker. Please don't kill Wrecker. I like Wrecker a lot.
I mean, I thought we were going to lose Wrecker too, because, it's the last episode, so it's the perfect time to kill one of the other Bad Batch if you're going to do it. But, yeah, I really like... But, again, Wrecker was another guy. I feel like he had a little bit more importance than he did the first half of the season, but... I love Wrecker. He's just an awesome character. Again, I love his, he's like that big soft teddy bear, but a big brute at the same time. And he stuck with the plan. He was able to stick with the plan. He was able to think on his feet when he was inspecting the ship and when the other Imperial officers came. I thought that was so great to see.
That was
like him trying to stumble.
It was funny. I think out of all the characters of the Bad Batch, I think Wrecker's my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know which one's my favorite. I'm still going back and forth on that one. But yeah, I love Wrecker. He didn't really have a particular story arc too much this season, but when he was there, I just love seeing him. Just seeing the big brute. He was very funny, but he's not just comedic relief, though. He's actually useful. And he's not someone you want to fuck with.
Right.
At the same time.
Wrecker, to me, if he hits you, you're going to feel it in the morning. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. That absolutely. And now Hunter. I really love Hunter, though. He in these last few episodes, you really saw him a lot more as a leader, I felt like. Coming up with the plans and kind of, and again, like him and Wrecker are trying to talk Crosshair out of sacrificing himself just to do it. But Hunter's just another great character in this. And we'll talk, and the ending will get its own topic, but I really just love Hunter. What about you, Sox?
Hunter, I do. But you need that straightforward, dry sense of humor type leader, and that's exactly what Hunter is. He's a very straightforward, very bland sense of humor type of guy. But what he says, you take to heart because, he's the one that comes up with that plan. And that plan is going to save you at the end of the day. You need those type of guys. You need those real military type characters. It's like, okay, here's the plan. We do this. We get in, we get out, we go home, and go on to the next thing. And that's what Hunter is. And I like that. I respect that. That's a real strategic mind type of character. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And he did what he needed to do. He was a leader. He was he's just awesome. He's really awesome. And the way he was able to talk Crosshair, give Crosshair that pep talk at the end, and he made Crosshair believe in himself.
That's what a leader does. Leaders are supposed to inspire their team. if you don't have a strong enough leader, your team is not going to survive. Your team is not going to have that inspiration to go with you into a battle. He's the guy that lays out the plan. He's the quarterback of the football team. They're going to listen to him because they believe in him. If they don't believe in him, they're not going to do it, and they're going to fail. He is the one that inspires them. Hey, we got to do this. We can do this. Let's get in there and move on. So he's the one.
Yeah, exactly. And he cares about his whole squad and his mission in protecting Omega. He's an awesome character, and he's an awesome leader. And you really see his teachings passed on to Omega, because the way that Omega was able to escape, I mean, kind of on her own. I mean, obviously the Bad Batch had to help her that second time, but she was able to escape that cell and get the kids out all on her own with her own planning. She did that.
Yeah. The one thing I noticed about this show, and I got to go all the way back to season 1, when I heard people say, oh, God, they're going to put a little girl in this team. She's going to be the dominated character of this whole damn team because it's Disney. Omega's not a Mary Sue. Omega made mistakes. Omega isn't perfect. I had no problem with Omega. I actually grew to like that character more than I realized. And I don't think like these idiots on YouTube. I was like, you know what? I like this character. I really think she's going to grow up really good. And she grew up really well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, Omega kind of, when I first saw Omega, I was a little irritated with her. But she was a kid, but she grew. But I grew to love her. We all grew to love her because she earned that, though. She earned that. She had training. She slowly got better at things. And she was able to escape on her own. But I believe it because she was trained by the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch trained her. That's how she was able to do it. She wasn't Rey, where she just had it. It took training.
But she became a formidable little character on her own, man. She was able to do what she needed to do, not only for herself, but those who she wanted to protect. And I had no problem with Omega. I would dare say that she's definitely part of that squad.
And she earned that place. She was able to help the kids escape. She came with a plan to release the Zello Beast. And she saved the Bad Batch when they got captured by the Clone Commandos and Hemlock. She did that. She's
got the mixture of all different members of the Bad Batch rolled up into her character as she got older.
Yeah, exactly. She's how you do character. She's how you do female character. She's not a Mary Sue. She's just a badass character who happens to be female.
Right.
She's awesome. I love Omega. And anything else you say about Omega before we get to that ending?
No, we can move on because that ending needs to be talked about for sure.
Yeah, the ending. My God. Like, first of all, they're all in Pabu at the end. They're all residing peacefully. And that flash forward when Omega joins the Rebel Alliance, decides to join the Rebel Alliance, and that heartbreaking goodbye to Hunter.
Yeah. I was not expecting that at all. That can't, because I thought there was in an episode where they're just sitting by that tree and looking at this, over the ocean. But when they did that fast forward, I was like, oh, they're setting up for something more down the line here. This is Dave Filoni's like, no, it ain't over yet. The ride ain't over yet. There's gonna be more coming later on down the line.
Yeah, exactly. There was probably definitely some setup, but. It's just even if there's not, though, it's so satisfying to see that Omega wants to use her talents. Because, I mean, the Bad Batch is training her, but they're training her to do what? Just to survive? No. I mean, she needs to apply her skills. She's an adult now. She needs to apply her skills to serve the betterment of mankind, of humankind, of the rebellion.
You can tell that she's getting ready to go with the Rebels, and which is A New Hope. She's going to hook up with, the Rebels that take on the Empire. And because the way they did that and how she's saying her heartfelt goodbye to Hunter, and even when Hunter says, if you need us, we'll be there. And I like that. I really do like that sort of thing, because it doesn't mean, even if we don't get anything else, we know that it can continue. And hopefully Dave Filoni at some point or another will come back with something where it's like, hey, the writing over yet. Here comes Omega and possibly the rest of the Bad Batch. Even though they're all older, they're still a great crew to be a part of.
Honestly, though, I'm kind of fine never seeing the Bad Batch again because they have such a great. They had a great ending, in my opinion. They had the perfect ending. Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker, all three of them had the perfect ending right there. I think there's potential for Echo though, but those three, they had such a great ending that honestly don't need to see them again. Because here's the thing, I don't need to see characters forever. If they have a good ending, I never need to see them again. It's kind of the whole point of the Cell campaign for the DC Snyderverse, is that I just want the conclusion for these characters, and after that, I don't ever need to see them again. And that's how I feel about the Bad Batch, is that the reason why I don't need to see them again isn't because I hated them. It's no, I love them. They had a great conclusion.
Yeah, but at least we get to see Omega and how she grew up, and she has all that training that she learned from her team, the Bad Batch, and she's able to go off on her own. Even if we don't see the Bad Batch anymore, but it'd be nice to see Omega continue her story. And there is more story for her. And I like the way it ended on that positive note for her and the rest of the team.
Her and the rest of the Bad Batch. Yeah, I love that too. It was such a perfect ending because I was even thinking, it's like, I understand that Clone Wars couldn't end happy, but to me, I'm watching the Bad Batch. There's no reason that this series can't have a happy ending because you don't see the Bad Batch in the original trilogy. There's no reason for them to have this sad ending, and especially when I first saw Pabu Socks in the first episode of Pabu, I'm like, please have it end with them residing on Pabu. Please have it end there, and that's what it did. I mean, aside from Omega joining off eventually to join the rebellion, but it was such a perfect ending. That ending, honestly, was so perfect in my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would have done differently in terms of the ending.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I mean, and the fact that even the nice little Easter egg that we saw where she has Ted's goggles on that ship when she's about to leave, that was nice. I kind of like that little thing, that little tribute to Tech. He may be gone, but he ain't forgotten. I like that. I really like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Especially for us, for a friend of ours. I mean, we can, in some ways, really relate to that.
Yeah.
And now let's go on to the Bad Batch rating. So for the entire 3 seasons of Bad Batch, what would you rate this show as?
Going off the top of my head right now, I would have to go, I'm going to give it a 9 because I felt that the reason I can't give it a 10 because it felt like maybe there should have been, I would have liked to see a little bit more with certain characters, but a 9 ain't bad. A 9, I'm not hating on it, but I feel like that, certain characters were like totally forgotten about, like, as much as I couldn't stand her Sid, we don't know, she just like disappeared altogether, which is not exactly a bad thing because I couldn't stand, but I would say a 9.
Yeah, that's a fair rating. I think it's a good one too. I mean, I would give it a 9.349868293 out of 10. I think it's a phenomenal series. Some of the filler episodes were kind of to me, but they didn't completely ruin the show, and season 3 especially. I think it's such a Bad Batch had a perfect story. I think Dave Filoni had a beginning, a middle, and an end for this series, and I am satisfied with the ending because I'm glad it ended where it did, because if it went on too longer, it would have jumped the shark and it would have been garbage. But this show was a really great show, carried a lot of great elements from Clone Wars. I love the Bad Batch characters, and it just such a great story arc for them. And I love Bad Batch. It was a great show, and this goes. What are some animated show Socks that you would like to see them do next?
And I would love to see Omega come back in her own series. I really would. I think if they were to bring that back just with her character, I'd be fine with that. Just because I like to see more of Omega. because no off on her own. God knows what she can get into because it leads right into episode 4. Right around that timeline. I would really love to see her. Her story continue if possible.
Yeah, I would love that too. I think that would be such a cool series. Get to take place before New Hope. It could even take place a little bit after New Hope. I think there's a lot of potential they can do with Omega. Another one I would like to see is Echo, a Rex series with Echo in it too, because I think there's a lot of great potential we have there. Because you see Rex is so strong fighting against the Empire, but then you see as this old hermit, resolved from fighting, but the Separatists, or not the Separatists, the Empire knows he's alive because he's checking in as Rex like normal. So I'm curious to see what happened there. What happened from Rex being dead in the eyes of the Empire, fighting them, to kind of having given up. Does Echo die? Does that what causes it? And also too, if Echo's in the series, they could find Sid again and they could kill Sid, because Echo knows Sid, so they could kind of tie up some loose ends. And Commander Cody, you could see, because I want to know what happened to Commander Cody.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I feel about that character. Yeah, exactly.
And that's never going away anytime soon. But yeah, I think that would be great. That would be another great one. And here's another one I want to see. I want to see a What If series with Clone Wars animation. Like, what if 5 succeeded? And what up, Skywalker the Jedi? And for those of you who don't, we'll talk about this in the coming up section, but Sky and I got something planned. I'll just say that. But anyway, I want a What If series in Clone Wars animation. Oh, yeah. By the way, Obi-Wan gave up. I stand with Anakin Skywalker. The Sith are the good guys. Anyway, I want to see an animated series of Clone Wars animation. I want to see what if 5 succeeded in alerting the Empire. I want to see what if Anakin won against Obi-Wan. Like Sox, did you ever play the Revenge of the Sith game? The PS2 Revenge of the Sith game.
I didn't even know there was a Revenge of the Sith game.
Remember that alternate ending where Anakin wins and kills Palpatine afterwards? Do you know what I'm talking about, Sox?
I never knew there was a Revenge of the Sith game.
Oh, you never knew there was? I thought you said you loved that game. I misunderstood. Yeah, there was. There was.
No,
basically, the final. There's two final levels of the game. There's a level where Obi-Wan fights. You play as Obi-Wan and you fight Anakin, and there's another level where you play as Anakin and fight Obi-Wan. The cutscenes are exactly the same until the end. The Obi-Wan ending, you get the traditional Revenge of the Sith movie ending, where Obi-Wan wins. But then in the Anakin one, Anakin's jump succeeds, and he kills Obi-Wan, and afterwards he kills Palpatine. It's really cool. And I think there's potential with that. What if 5 succeeded? I really want to see that one. I think there's a lot of what if potential they could do, because then they don't have to be bound by certain storylines. What about you, Sox? You got another one since I gave 2?
No, not really. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think, the Omega one is definitely one I want to see too. And Rex and Echo and What If. I think those are the 3 that they could do next. Because aside from Tales of the Empire, the animated stuff is really killing it. Now, I kind of want to get into this one because it's our Star Wars Day special. Sox, what does Star Wars mean to you?
Star Wars means to me like a new hope. I enjoy it for the fantasy. I enjoy it for that, that a story that's strong and powerful that was created by a genius that George Lucas is, was able to be inspired by certain things like Seven Samurai, Flash Gordon, and the Magnificent Seven, which says what inspired him to do that. And plus a lot from Joseph Campbell, which helped him to create a wonderful franchise known as Star Wars. And Star Wars is actually has a lot of samurais to a lot of different. Well, it's a lot of different mythology that's in Star Wars because when Lucas created it, whether he created a whole new thing that people are still loving to this day, even younger generations that are coming up now that have seen the original 6 films. They're looking upon this as the true good versus true evil. For me, Star Wars is something that I didn't get into sports as a kid. I got into nerd stuff. I got into comics. I got into, sci-fi. I'm a kid of the 80s. I was born in 72. I was a kid of the 80s. So I caught it at the right time. And Star Wars, as much as I respect Star Trek, I love Star Wars even more. I mean, I can't buy a film or a franchise over Star Wars. I'm sorry, I can't do it. And who here wouldn't want to be able to have the ability to force, or to be able to control a lightsaber, or study the Jedi Academy as a Jedi Knight? I know I would, but that's just me.
Well said, Sox. Well said. And I grew up in the I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up more with the prequel series, but Star Wars was a big part of my childhood. I'm going to be honest with you. And now this has shifted since then, but in my childhood days, I'm going to say it, I was really more into Star Wars than I was into DC. It was really until The Dark Knight when that parameter shifted where I prefer DC over Star Wars. I still love both. I still love both. I want to make that clear, but back when I was a kid, I really loved Star Wars. I loved the prequel films. I'm going to say that. The prequel films I grew up with. Revenge of the Sith is still my favorite, and even now with all the animated stuff, the story of Star Wars is such an interesting, fascinating story, and it's kind of sad to see some of the stuff that's happened to it. But as much bad stuff as Disney has done, the sequel trilogy, it's done a lot of good stuff too, like the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, Bad Batch, last season of Clone Wars, Rebels. There's a lot of great stuff with Star Wars, even still. And I know it's kind of gone downhill, but there's a lot of good with it that we're still getting too. And that's just what it is. I love Star Wars. I'm always going to love Star Wars. And it's been part of my childhood, and it's helped me get through a lot of stuff from my childhood days. And it's always going to I can put it like this. DC and Zack Snyder, I kind of grouped together. I know it's cheating a little bit because Rebel Moon's not really DC, or it's not DC, but under DC and Zack Snyder, Star Wars is my second thing. Star Wars is my second thing right under that. I love Star Wars. I'm always going to love Star Wars. And I'm really glad to have this show, Space-Tastic Discussions, dedicated to Star Wars and Rebel Moon, because it's called Space-Tastic Discussions. So, but I'm glad to have a show for Star Wars. I really am. It's a great... I'm really glad I launched this show, and again, the intro perfectly blends Star Wars and Rebel Moon together. Great work, Austin, again on this, and great work on this background. I'll never stop shouting you out for that, but Star Wars is great. It's, as you said, it's good versus evil. It teaches a message about redemption too. That even Darth Vader, someone as evil as Darth Vader, could be redeemed. It's a great story. It's a powerful story, and I will always love Star Wars. And in fact, in some ways, I see it similar to Snyder's arc in his intended arc for the Snyderverse. A story that centers around the rise, fall, and redemption of a character, Anakin Skywalker and Superman. So I think Star Wars is a great show or a great franchise, and I love it. I hope this Acolyte series is good. I hope it is, and I hope we get some more great animated shows, because I think that's where their strength is right now, honestly, is in the animated stuff. Which is okay, because their main story is live action. So, again, we'll both always love Star Wars. Now, coming up, Sox, I guess for us, we are going to get our X-Men review show rescheduled. We had some StreamYard issues on the last one, so that's why it was taken down. But we will get that part 2 of season 2 video. We will do that one again. You will see that one soon. I guess Socks. I know you've been on. Thank you, Zod Writer. I guess Socks. I know you've been kind of on a hiatus, other than coming on my channel. But is there anything coming up for your channel, or are you still just kind of taking it easy?
I'm still gonna take it easy for at least another 2 weeks, because I'm waiting. I'm going to do a big, massive YouTube channel video. I'm sorry, YouTube video in about another 2 weeks, and I'm gonna review the entire season. Spoiler also, X-Men '97. But I'm waiting.
Okay, well,
2 more weeks.
Well, I'm not going to watch that one then, because I don't want that spoiled for me. But yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for you to have that one up, and I think it'll be a great video for at least people who have seen X-Men '97. And I will watch it eventually once I watch X-Men '97. But I guess coming up on my channel is, other than the X-Men review show, is that I do have some Rebel Moon watch parties planned for part 1 and 2. Those dates that you see on the link, they may change because that's Mother's Day weekend, so I may have to shift some stuff around. But it will be clear by the time as we get closer. And if you don't see the dates change, assume that the dates are the same. And thank you, Sin Havoc. I appreciate it. And there will be a Tales of the Empire review on Space-Tastic Discussions coming up soon. And, oh yeah. So Sky and I have talked, and we are going to finally do the Obi-Wan the Obi-Wan gave up debate straight. The plan for it is to come out on the anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. So be on the lookout for that. Lots of great content coming up. So guys, if you want to see more, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and great discussions such as these. And Socks, thanks again for coming on. I always love having you on my channel. Any final words?
Ta-ta for now.
There you are. Have a space-tastic day.